there's certain celebrities where I always had this like weird gut feeling about them.
Hmm.
And then they're the ones that are connected to P. Diddy or to Jeffrey Epstein or whatever it was, you know?
Well, welcome everyone to today's episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want. We're going to jump into all the controversy that's going on with P. Diddy because why not? Why not? So, in case we haven't met, my name is Karen.
And my name is Ashley. And yeah, I got suckered into it, like most people out there. And I find it just interesting. And I'll just kind of say, like, why is it relevant, I guess, or why could it be relevant to this type of podcast? And so for me, I think it's relevant to know what's going on in our world and how to navigate it. One, like we talked about on our last podcast, to not come from a fear mentality or anything like that. Two, when things are going on in our world, those frequencies affect us.
Mm.
And so, right now we have a lot. So if you're feeling like, holy shit, like I feel tired or stressed out or overwhelmed and I don't know the reason for it, um, you're probably feeling the collective. We have hurricanes and flooding and elections and P. Diddy and all the things right now, and there's so much more than that too. And so, when you understand what's going on in the world and what's going on astrology wise and all those different things, you get a little bit of a deeper understanding of what's affecting you because it's not always you. Even like there can be someone walking past your house and you somehow pick up on their energy and you're like have an anxiety attack and you're like, what was that? You know?
Mhm.
So,
It's also
yeah.
something super important to remember too that if somebody's walking past our house and we pick up on their energy and it creates anxiety in us, we have to also remember that that was attracted to us because it was already in us. This was something that we have a mutual mentor that she said this to me one time when we were connecting together, and she was talking. We were talking about how there were people in my life that were extremely jealous of my relationship with Matthew, right? My husband Matthew, right? And we were talking about how like that just was affecting me without me really know it was an unconscious affecting me. I didn't know it. And then as we were talking, I made this huge aha moment of, oh my God, I attracted that to me because that jealousy is in me. That is in
Mhm.
me. And so I attracted it to me. And when I realized that, I went, oh, like I can never blame someone or something around me because that
Mhm.
needs to be cleaned up inside of me. And I went, oh, okay. So, yes, be very aware that like things around you, your environment, people around you can absolutely affect you if you're not paying attention to the things that need to be cleaned up in your life. So hopefully
Mhm.
that makes sense. Hopefully that gives the like big light bulb moment that I had that day because it was like, oh my God, I had no
Mhm.
idea how much of a jealous person I was until we had that conversation. And I went, that's the reason I attracted it. That's the reason that that's in my field because I am feeling jealous of XYZ, whatever, of someone else in my life. And so I'm attracting that energy to me. So that's totally besides the point.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I think we always go off of the rails.
yeah,
So
we haven't even talked about P. Diddy yet.
this is completely normal for us.
Yes.
I think that's the only time I truly look into and I can't speak today. And what is it? Help me.
I don't
I
know.
can't.
I wish I could.
Oh,
Words
your
are hard though.
ancestors.
Okay,
And
yeah.
what's the word of like,
Generational
yeah,
trauma.
it's just a plural way of saying and I can't even say that word. Ancestors.
Ancestor. Ooh, words are hard. It's okay. I'll
Yeah.
let you have this.
So the only time I truly look at like past lives or generational stuff or anything like that is when it comes to trauma.
Hmm.
Because we like scientifically, they can show that we carry that DNA with us.
Hmm.
So we carry the DNA of our mothers. And I think I don't think there is a limit to that. I think it's all carried. And then our fathers, it's the sperm carries it 7 generations, is I
Mm.
believe is what they've scientifically been able to be like the trauma lives in the DNA for 7 generations for sperm. And then I think for mothers, there's no limit. And so that's the only time I really truly look at that is like, okay, is this in my awareness? Because I know a lot of the problems that I have, I'm like, okay, I can really see that in my grandmother, you know?
Hmm.
And so sometimes it's not necessarily us, it's that the DNA of like past generations. And that's the only time I truly look at that because I know my mom, so again, this is kind of along the lines like my mom had a BITALK practitioner tell her that she was SA'd. And she was like, no, I was not.
Mm.
And she has no recollection of it whatsoever. And she's like, oh, you suppressed it. Like it happened. And my mom
Mm.
has done lots of work with different spiritual healers, different counselors, like all the things. And she's like, at this point, I would have remembered it by
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. And she's like, it never ever aligned with me whatsoever. And so similar to the conversations we have, if it doesn't align, it's not for you. And so I said, just stop thinking about it. You don't need to keep trying to find the
Make it work.
connection, like just
Yeah.
leave it. But in my head, I'm like, it's not yours, it's your mother's.
Mm.
Because guaranteed my grandmother was essayed, like 100%.
Hmm.
She never spoke about it, but there's just knowing what happened in her life, there's no way it didn't happen.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, that's her trauma that's living in you. And every once in a while, I'll have a trauma response, and I'm like, I haven't truly been essayed. Like I've had kind of assault, but not like to that level where I would be like, I'm a victim of this, and I can relate to other people that are victims of this. And so I'll have triggers. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, it's generational. Like
Hmm.
it's not my trauma, it's my grandmother's trauma, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So, anyways, that ties in kind of to the whole P. Diddy because it's all about essays and all the fun things. And yeah, so it's pretty intense. And I think that's where it's interesting um, because your gut will tell you a lot of this stuff before you even hear about it. So I don't know about you, but there's certain celebrities where I always had this like weird gut feeling about them,
Hmm.
and then they're the ones that are connected to P. Diddy or to Jeffrey Epstein or whatever it was, you know? So I don't know. What kind of things are you curious about? Like what things do you think are relevant for us to talk about? Like what do you want to
Girlfriend,
know?
I don't know a goddamn thing about what's going on with P. Diddy other than he's in court cases. I literally do not know because when it comes to a celebrity, I don't care. I really don't because I'm just like, you're not spending time looking into my life, so I don't need to spend time looking into your life. That's how
Mhm.
I feel about it. Whether it's right, wrong, good or bad doesn't matter. But for me,
Yeah.
the only reason that I know something's going on is because I've seen people talk about it in passing on TikTok. I'll see something about P. Diddy and just keep scrolling because I don't care, right? Like, I, oh, this is embarrassing, but I barely know I know he's a rapper, but I barely know what he sings. Like,
Oh, 100%.
I
Yeah.
really don't know anything about him. So,
I probably wouldn't really even know who he was if it wasn't for other musicians,
mm,
you know?
okay. Hmm.
Because what song, there's a couple of songs where he's mentioned in the songs,
Yeah,
and then, oh,
absolutely. Yeah. Like I
I can't
think
remember.
Eminem sings about him, right? Like that's all
Yeah.
I know. I don't know anything about him though.
Well, it's Kesha. Kesha sings about him.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
she says "fuck P. Diddy" in her song.
Okay, yeah.
And
Well,
that's
I'm with her.
literally the only thing. And then I used to occasionally watch Ellen, and he was a guest a couple times. But if you said name a song of his, or like if you listen to the song and this is his, would you recognize it? Probably not.
No, not at all.
Almost, I don't even know if I would really with Jay-Z or 50 Cent even. Like,
I
Like
wouldn't either.
that's
True.
like that whole like R&B genre is just like totally not my music, you
It
know?
used to be my music when I was in middle school, and then I grew out of that fast. So I just don't know anything about it. Even when I would listen to it, I wouldn't even know who was singing the song because to me it
Yeah.
didn't matter. I liked it or I didn't.
And like I never liked Destiny's Child, but then when they all went their different ways, there was one singer that I did like, and then she's not popular anymore. And that was
Mm,
she was the only one that I ever actually listened to. Never liked Beyonce, never really liked Kanye West or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah. And
yeah.
just with all this P. Diddy stuff, like that New York song. That is with Jay-Z, I think. And I didn't know that until just recently. And I could still be wrong because I don't know it well. And I'm like, oh, okay, I do know one of his songs. Okay.
I don't.
But
So.
yeah. So, anyways, he um got arrested for racketeering, sex trafficking,
Mm.
and sexual assault.
Ugh.
So yeah, I believe
Yeah.
that's all of it. And so the stories are that he would throw these massive parties, and there was like a pre-party and then like an after party. And the
Mhm.
pre-party, there was tons and tons of people at. And this is kind of my thoughts and my hopes. Because I hope there's more good people
Mm.
than, and so I'm hoping, because they have a lot of celebrities that I do like at these white parties or whatever. And so my thoughts are it starts off like PG-ish,
Mm.
like I've been to clubs and I've been to like parties and that kind of stuff. And so like yes, some people do weird stuff off in the
Yep.
corner, but for the
Yep.
most part, like it's all just like dancing and drinking and
Yep.
maybe some drugs, like
Yep.
that's kind of like the norm. And so I'm kind of thinking like, okay, that's how the first party was, and then the second party was when it got like really crazy, and then that's what he called his freak offs. That's like the technically he called them freak off parties. And so then I think that's where it got a little bit more wild. And they were said that um they were to have um younger children, teenagers, at these parties, and they would drug them. And so a lot of the drinks that were going around were drugged. So even if you were there as a celebrity, you were usually drugged. And then they would last sometimes days, the freak off parties. So these people that they were sex trafficking and these younger people, um, some of the people that I've seen come out and talk about it have said that they thought that they were like getting a free ticket to a celebrity party, and they were going to be able to work. So they were like sex workers, or
Mm.
they were not sex workers, then they just wanted to go and have a good time. So either one,
Mm.
And it's kind of like in Vegas, like when you go to
Mm.
Vegas and the guys are like, "Oh, here, you're a girl. Here's a free ticket to a free
Yeah.
party,"
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so that's how some of the girls thought it was. Like, "Oh, I'm getting a free ticket to go to a P. Diddy party." Like, fuck yeah.
Mm.
And then some of the girls were sex workers and like, "Oh, I'm getting in." And like, of course I'd want to go and work at a celebrity party where I'm going to get paid really good money and meet some really cool celebrities, right?
Mhm.
And then they were drugged.
Mm.
And so, whether they were a celebrity or a non-celebrity or sex worker, they were drugged, so they were not conscious of what they were doing. And then he videotaped them, and so there was like hundreds of cameras apparently around his houses, so he could videotape everything, and then he would use it as leverage. So he would leverage people saying like, "You're going to do what I want you to do, or I'm going to release these tapes of you doing the shit that you didn't consent to and you didn't even know was happening because I also drugged you."
Mm.
So it was intense, and he would have people come to the parties to administer IVs. And it sounds like the IVs were both to give drugs so that they could keep everyone compliant. So if it lasted days, they could keep them drugged so that they were going to keep doing these atrocious things. And then also so that they could have fluids because they were being assaulted for days upon days by multiple people.
Yeah.
And so then the IVs essentially kept them alive.
Oh my
And
God.
then for them and the celebrities, they would give them an IV to perk them up so they could then leave the next day when the party was over, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like the gist of what I understand. And then he would just do a lot of threats. So, threaten to kill people, threaten to use the sex tapes, threaten all these things so he could have leverage over other people. And so that's where other celebrities are being connected of like Justin Bieber was someone that he would drug and he brought into these parties when he was 14 years old. And um and so like he was not consensual and he was a minor and then he was drugged and then he was threatened and manipulated or blackmailed. There we go, that's the word. And so they're saying that that happened to multiple younger people. And then the older people also had stuff against them. And they also knew him to be willing to off people or unalive people. And so they're saying that he is connected, and by they, TikTok, um, is where some of this information is from the actual like US attorney, the New York US attorney, is that what it's called?
Probably.
I don't know the words for US because I'm Canadian, so I don't
Hmm.
know what you guys call it. But like the guy that's like in charge of all the legal stuff for New York,
Hmm.
some of that information is coming from him because I have watched some of his like going live to do press conferences, and then he also has like a document of everything that they're releasing to the public. So I've seen those. But then there's a lot of stuff on TikTok that is in addition to it. Like at the press conference, there's a lot of things that people were asking about that he said he can't talk about it right now because it's an open investigation. So that's where there's celebrities or victims coming out and saying this is what happened. And they're talking about it. And then his ex-wife, who is now dead, she wrote a book and it was released during this time frame too. And so she died before it was released. And then because of everything that's happening, they release it now. And the saying is that they release it now because it's all coming out, so they felt safe enough to release it now. So,
Hmm.
anyways, they are connecting him to the death of Tupac and a couple of rappers I do not know the name of whatsoever because it's not my world. Brittany Murphy, Michael Jackson, and his ex-wife, Jay-Z's mistress, and there's like lots of different people that they're saying. There also was a shooting in a club. And apparently he was responsible for that.
Hmm.
But then they settled outside of court, and one of his proteges that he was like helping get successful took the blame for it. And he went to jail for it. And in his ex-wife's book, she said that it was J-Lo and P. Diddy that were involved in it. But they told this guy, if you want to be successful when you get out of jail, we'll have you made, but you need to take the fall for this. And then they also had the leverage of the videos and that kind of stuff, so that if he didn't, he would never be successful anyways. So like there's so much stuff there of like who knows. Um, and so the for me, the people that are speaking out now, it makes sense. Like they feel he's in jail, they feel safe. They're going to come out about it now because if something happened to them now, it'd be really, really fishy.
Hmm.
And then they're pointing a lot of fingers at like Will Smith, Ellen, the Kardashians, all that kind of stuff. Beyonce, Jay-Z, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all I can say is I know, we've talked about this before about Jim Carrey, that
Mm-mm.
it was, he came out with, Hollywood's just a mess. Like it's just, there's trash all over the place there. And it's not, yeah, it's not, unfortunately, it could be such a great place because there's a lot of people that are celebrities that are looked up to by a lot of kids, teens, even adults.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is that that power is misused.
Hmm.
And I think that it's only a matter of time before more and more of this stuff really does start to come out. And I question if we as a society will be like, wait, why are we doing this? Why are we giving these people so much of our attention? Why are we
Exactly.
giving them fame? Why are we allowing these kind of things to go on?
Yeah.
Um, because it's truly like you think that it doesn't affect you until it does. That's the
Mhm.
truth of the matter with these things. Um, until it gets close to home and maybe it's your brother or your sister or even you that gets sucked into these things. I mean, to
Yeah.
me, it really sounds very cult like too.
Mhm.
Very much a cult like
Well, they talk
experience.
about that.
Mm,
Yeah. They
okay.
talk about how um there it's a spiritual
Yeah.
Satan thing. Some I've heard once that the acts that happened were to children and to animals.
Mm,
Um, I didn't hear anything more describing that than that specific one of the sexual assault victims was saying is no one's talking about it, but like it's children. Like these people are doing this to children and to animals, and that's how she kind of says it. And then she doesn't go into more detail, and she's like, "There's so many people that try to come out, but it was just quiet, quiet. They're made to be kept quiet."
well, if you're
Um,
feared for your life or your family's life, I can understand that. So,
Yeah. And that's where all these TikToks are bringing up past conversations. So, like P. Diddy and Justin Bieber, or Usher, or P. Diddy and Ellen, and they're bringing up all these like past interviews and being like, the signs were all there, you know? Now that we know, like it was like right in front of our faces, right? And so that part's kind of interesting as well. And then too, you look at like Justin Bieber's music videos, you look at Eminem's songs, and you're just
mhm,
like, holy shit.
mhm,
Um, and that's what's all over TikTok is like Justin Bieber's like Yummy song and his Lonely song and all that kind of stuff. And it's like truly like you can't once like I never really watched Justin Bieber's music videos, but like when you do, it's like holy cow, like it's right there. Would I have noticed if I had watched it then? I don't know. But like it's really crazy. And that's where too on our last podcast we talked about movies and are they trying to wake us up or are they laughing at us? Because it's all right there in our face, you know, like that's how I feel about like Jurassic Park and Avatar and the Twister movie and like so many others. Like it's just like holy cow, like it's right there in your face. And it's either to wake you up or to laugh at you. Like, and I truly believe that because it's so there. Um, but yeah, so to go back to the whole and like I don't think we need to get too much into the details of everything. But there was two things that you said that kind of were crazy. So she being P. Diddy's ex-wife that died, she said that when she was pregnant, he would force her to have sex with other people because being pregnant was like this like big spiritual thing.
mhm,
And so it was like a blessing to have sex with a pregnant person.
mhm,
So she had to do that with all these guys. So it was like this weird, like gross thing.
mhm,
Uh,
yeah.
and then she died of pneumonia. Brittany Murphy died of pneumonia and all this kind of stuff. And so baby oil is what they found in their hotel room, or not hotel room, in his homes. And baby oil can cause pneumonia.
Mm,
And so it's like all this weird stuff that's all connected, but at this moment just like alleged and um like questionable, I guess. But that's the part that's to me really interesting is how you brought up Jim Carrey because Jim Carrey says all this stuff. And when I hear him say all this stuff, I'm like, oh shit, he's calling them out. He's speaking truth,
mhm,
you know? But everyone else in the media is like, he's fucking lost his mind,
mm,
right?
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the same thing with Kanye West.
Mhm,
Kanye West has lost his mind,
right,
right?
right.
And so they're saying he's lost his mind because he's calling them out. And then there's also saying that he started dressing fucking weird and all that kind of stuff to play along with the I have lost my mind because otherwise they would try to kill him.
Mm,
And there was two instances where he claims he would have died. So he did end up in the hospital once, and he said like it was like they tried to off me but weren't successful. And then there was another time where his doctor wanted to give him medication and he refused. And he's like, if my doctor had done that, I know it would have been a Michael Jackson scenario where I
mm,
had died of the overdosing because of my mental health and all that kind of stuff. And really, it was planned.
mm,
Um, Same idea with Tupac. Tupac was shot once, and then 2 years later, I think, is when he was shot and killed. And so that's where there's a lot around it because Tupac would kind of speak out against um, P. Diddy as the reason and that he got shot the first time, and then everyone else is saying that's why he died afterwards is because of P. Diddy. Um, so yeah, it's interesting how even when we talk spiritual stuff, like I talk spiritual stuff with my friends or my family, they're like, "Oh, that's woo woo, it's crazy," you
mm,
know?
mm,
And that's just like when people don't understand something, it's just like that's crazy, and that's
mm.
that's as far as it goes. So yeah,
Yeah, I
but
mean, honestly, at the end of the day, like, um, the the question you have to always ask yourself if something if something somebody says sounds crazy, ask yourself what frequency was it said to you in?
yeah,
Because if somebody is saying something to you in a frequency of trying to control you or a frequency of um, fear, that is not love, right? And I do think that you can, if you're paying attention to yourself, if you're paying attention to your body, you can figure out where somebody is coming from. So, like, I do believe that both you and I are like, we're saying things that might sound crazy, but we're saying it from a frequency of love. Like, I
mhm,
mean, look at Jesus. My God, the man said some of the weirdest things, right? Like, even now, like reading the Bible, granted, we're reading it translated into English, and so lots is lost in translation, but still, there's a lot of radical things that he says in the
mhm,
Bible, right? And now, like, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, actually, that does make sense now. Not when he was alive, right? When
yeah,
he was alive, people were like, this man's nuts, to the point where they decided to kill him, right?
yeah,
So the thing that you have to remember is, I guarantee you, if you were in the frequency, if you were in Jesus's presence, you could feel his frequency. You could
mhm,
feel that it was a frequency of love. If you're in a
yeah,
frequency where if you're standing in the frequency of somebody like P. Diddy, most likely, unless you are already connected very heavily to that frequency, you probably feel uncomfortable. You
yeah,
probably feel like something's not right, right?
yeah,
Like there's something that's just not working. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons that I know nothing about the man, because I don't jive with his frequency. I'm not connected with it in any way, shape, or form. And so I know
mhm,
nothing about the man. Not to say that if you do know something about the man that you're connected with him
mhm,
in any way, shape, or form, but it's
yeah,
just like if you're spending time with people, you can tell what their intentions are generally. Yes,
yeah,
there are times where, like, you brought up the book to me years ago, Talking to Strangers, where, yes,
mhm,
there are people that really can completely take you off guard. But if you spend some time with people and really, like, pay attention to the words and the frequency is the most important thing. Like, how
yeah,
does somebody make you feel when you
mhm,
are spending time with them? That's something
yeah,
to pay attention to. If they make you feel gross, it's okay to say this person's not for me.
yeah.
This is just not my situation.
Yeah. And I think that that's kind of one of the hard things with like Hollywood because so many people are desperate for that entry into Hollywood.
Mm.
And so then you don't listen to your gut.
Mhm.
And like this is like completely off topic, but like my partner's ex, I don't like her. My gut feeling was always, I don't like her. But I was like, nope, we're not gonna judge her. We gotta like figure this out for the kids and all that kind of stuff. And then it got really bad really fast, and that was kind of gone. But every single person I talked to knows her energy. They all can feel it. Like just signing my son up for dance, they had one conversation with her and they're like, no, I got you, kind of thing. And it's just like, whoa, like it's just like she literally cannot talk to one person without them getting this like vibe of like, I'm not nice, I'm not safe, and I'm here to attack, you know?
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, I have people wanting to protect me. And like part of me is like, awesome, I love the love. And part of me is like, what part am I giving off that feels like I can't protect myself? So, but I think it's just because she's so volatile. Like it's just like it's such a feeling that like people are like, "Oh boy," you know?
Mhm.
And so I am assuming that's how so many of these people are in Hollywood, where it's just like, oh boy. But when you are opening yourself up to that because you want to be in
Want to
Hollywood, or
be,
you
yeah.
want to be a sex worker, like I have nothing against sex work at all,
Mhm.
but I do think you open yourself up to vulnerabilities.
Mhm.
And you are going to have to shut down, um, gut feelings in a certain way to be
Mhm.
able to do what you do. Like
Yeah.
I'm not a sex worker, so I don't know, but I just feel like that would be part of the role. Um, and so yeah, that's where I think that it's interesting. So, yeah, and I do like kind of how you had said before, like when are we going to stop paying all these people for them to be on a pedestal? And
Yeah.
like I saw a TikTok on this about how it's like the Roman Empire, you know? They had the Colosseum to distract people and to punish people and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what our society is. Like celebrities, artists, sports athletes, all of that, they're a distraction.
Mhm.
It's a distraction from us living our life. It is a distraction from us being connected to source and living at our highest frequency.
100%. Yeah.
And anyone that you talk to, usually as you are more awakened, you kind of go away from that stuff a little bit more. Not
Yeah.
necessarily because everyone's purpose and everyone's passions
Different.
are different,
Yep.
but it is typically one of those things. And so I would love to see the day where an athlete, an artist, a celebrity is not paid multiple millions of dollars because that's not where we're putting our money, you know?
Right.
Like yes, they have worked hard, they've done great things,
Yeah.
and they like that's great, but then you have Olympians that don't get like my cousin went to the Olympics twice. He was number 10 there, I think. And then I can't remember. And then he's got first in the world. He does not make money, you
Mhm.
know? Um, and so like we're putting these people on pedestals. What about the people that are like doctors or
Right.
spiritual or farmers that are really trying to make good food? Like why are we prioritizing these people that are entertaining us and distracting us?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and we spend so much time putting those people on that pedestal, and we unfortunately kind of close our eyes to what's going on behind the scenes.
yeah,
Um, so it's unfortunate, but yeah, and I don't have an answer for how to fix that either. No
yeah,
clue how to fix that other than I have to, like I said on the last podcast, I have to only control my energy around
hmm,
how I am feeling about certain things, right? Because that's the only thing I can control.
yeah,
So, speaking up against these things, 100% do that.
yeah,
But also remember, where are you coming from when you are speaking up against those things? Are you
yeah,
speaking out in anger or are you speaking out in love? Because for me, my heart immediately goes to the people that were drugged in this situation and held against their will. Like
right,
that
yeah,
is horrible. And
hmm,
so my energy, I have to make sure too, because this is something I really have been honing in recently. Am I feeling empathetic and sad for them, or am I feeling love for them? There's a big difference there too, because one does not have as much power as the other. Love always wins, period, end of story. So if I'm coming at a situation in love, I can create massive change. If I'm coming at a story like somebody is being held against their will and I feel sad for them, there's no energy and there's no power in that because I'm now in a lower frequency. So
Yeah.
I can't create as much change for somebody if I'm
Mhm.
coming at it in that direction. And so I've really been looking at my own life recently. This has been something that came up a couple times within the past week, to be completely honest, where I was like, I can't feel sorry for people. That doesn't help them. Ew.
Mhm.
Why would you want to feel sorry for somebody? Because now you've just entered into the same frequency that they are.
Yeah.
What about instead just loving on them and going, you know what? I love you regardless. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter what's going on.
Well, I
So,
think the easiest way to do that is to be their creator.
hmm,
Like at the end of the day, like my partner has gone through unbelievable trauma and his family is a mess. And at the end of the day, like I can be like, oh, I feel sorry for him and I could compensate for that,
yeah,
which does not put us in a healthy place
doesn't
at all
help.
in a
Yeah.
relationship. It's like, no, like he chose this life.
Yeah.
My dad just got diagnosed with cancer for the second time, and I could be
Mm,
sad and upset and fearful, but it's like, no, he chose this life.
yeah.
This is his life. And of course, I will be sad to see him suffering and sad to see him pass. I don't think it's anywhere near that whatsoever. Either one, I don't think he's suffering or going to pass, but cancer is scary.
Yeah.
And so I'm choosing not to be in fear and choosing to understand that he is the creator. He is now given the opportunity to continue to create from this point forward, and that is his decision and his
Mm,
control, not mine. And yeah, and that's where I think when it comes to all of this celebrity stuff, we can only control ourselves, but like we said on our last podcast, we can call out the things
mm,
that we see as wrong and not be desensitized to it.
yeah.
We can put our money into different things, you know? I truly believe we're living in a Hunger Game scenario without the sacrifice,
Mm,
without the actual game.
mm,
And with everything that's coming out right now, there might be a game that we're unaware of.
mm,
Um, but I truly believe that we are in a situation where the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer. And I'm a conspiracy theorist where I think it's intentional, and we're going to have to stand up against that by raising our frequency and using our voices and putting our money where the love is.
mm,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So. That was a good one. Good chat today. So, but I think we're going to end it there. So, friends, if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe and let us know what your thoughts are in the comment. And if you are listening on your favorite podcast host, go ahead, give us a 5-star, leave us a comment as well. We'd love to hear from you. So, with that, we are going to call TMI Advice You Didn't Want a wrap for today. Thanks so much for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue hanging out with us, and don't forget to subscribe.